Hello everyone, welcome to the Middle Ventures, and today I have come with a new video and I have taken up the book Treasure Trove. Today I will give you a parawise explanation of the poem The Cold Within, which has been written by Mr. James Patrick Kinney. So before starting the poem, I would like to tell you a bit about the author, Mr. James Patrick Kinney. So I'm not going to tell you that where he was born and when he was born, because this is very unnecessary to know from the exam point of view. So all I want to tell you is that he got recognition for his poem The Cold Within only, and there is a surprising thing about this poem that this poem was rejected by many of the publishers when he was alive, but after many years of his death this poem was read by the people, it was published, and it was widely appreciated around the globe. So let us know about our poem in brief before starting the poem. So this poem is actually about six human beings who have stuck in a situation where they have to stand in extreme cold conditions with their fellow human beings, and they have some sort of prejudice for their fellow human beings in their hearts. They have some coldness in their heart for others, and in this poem we have told that what circumstances they go through and how they fail to give up their ego, and this is and at last what they had to suffer due to this prejudice in their hearts. So now let's jump on to our poem. So there are two things that you must keep in your mind before starting the poem. The first thing is the rhyme scheme of the poem, which is A B C B. So this poem has 8 paragraphs and it follows the rhyme scheme A B C B. Okay, you can see here the first word is A, B, C, B. Here the second word cold rhymes with the last word told, isn't it? Okay. And the second thing that we must know is that this poem is a parable. So parable basically is a poetic form in which the poet narrates a incident. Okay, or we could say an incident, fictionary incident. Okay. Okay. So now let's start the poem. Finally, six humans trapped by happenstance. In this poem, the poet has used the word humans instead of people, person, community, anything else. The poet has used the word humans. The reason for this is that he has tried to target the whole human race, the whole human species, which does not belongs to any particular religion, caste, creed, gender, or any race, whatever. Okay, so he has just targeted the whole human species. So six humans trapped means they were stuck, and happenstance means by chance. Okay, by chance. So this is an unusual word, otherwise the poem is very simple in its vocabs. Okay, so six humans were stuck in by chance in a situation in bleak and bitter cold. Bleak means extreme, and bitter means unbearable. Means six humans by chance were stuck in unbearable and just extreme cold situation, and each one possessed a stick of wood. Now here this stick of wood is symbolizing two things. The first thing is sin. Okay, human sin means they possessed a stick of wood, means they had a stick of wood, means they had some sin, and if they would have given up their sin then they would have the chance of survival, but since they hold on to their stick of wood, or we could say to their sin, they had to die, which was their unfortunate fate. And the second meaning of this stick of wood is ego. They had ego, or we could say hatred for their fellow human beings, which also lead to their death. This was the coldness they had in their heart for their fellow human beings. And so the story is told, and this is how we start the poem. So we could say this is the setting of the poem. The first paragraph is the setting of the poem. So now let us move towards our second paragraph. Now this second para is very important because here we are going to be introduced to the first person of this group, who was a woman. And let us start this. Their dying fire in need of logs. This means the fire was the last chance of their survival, and this fire signifies the ultimate purifying agent. If they would have given up their logs, if they would have given up their ego, given up their sins, then they had a chance of survival. Okay, so it was dying out means it was extinguishing. It was in a way of it was getting extinguished. So it needed logs. If someone would have added logs to it, if someone would have given up their logs to the fire, then the fire would have survived as well as they. The first woman held her bags. The first one of that group was a woman. She held her log back. She did not give up her log. For the faces around the fire, she noticed one was black. Here she is going to have she is having a prejudice on the basis of color. Okay, this means color, race. She had racial discrimination for one of the persons standing in that group. Okay, so she was standing, the people were standing around the fire. The fire was dying out, it was in need of logs, and the first one was a woman, first one of that group was a woman. So she held her log back. She did not give up her log, she did not give up her ego, just because she noticed that one person standing in that group was black. He did not belong to her race. Okay, so let us move towards third para. Okay, so in this para we are going to be going to be introduced to the second person of this. So the second person was the next man looking across the way saw one knot of his church. So this para discriminate in this the person has been discriminated, and the person has a prejudice for his fellow human being on the basis of religion. Okay, religion. Here church means a particular, it doesn't mean that a Christian religion has been pointed out here it means that he did not belong to his religion. Okay, so the next man who was looking across the ways, who was looking around the group, he saw that one person standing in that group was not of his religion and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Birch is basically a type of tree. Okay, so he also had a log in his hand. Everybody in that group had a log. Similarly, he also had a log in his hand, but he was unable to uh, get on, or we could say overpower his prejudice for his fellow human being who did not belong to his religion. Okay, so now the fourth paragraph. Here we are going to be told about the third person. The third person is a poor person. The third one sat in tattered clothes. Tattered means torn clothes. Okay, so he was poor. This tattered clothes signify that he was a poor person. He uh, gave his coat a hitch. Now don't get confused that how did he had a coat if he was not rich, because it is the story somewhere set in USA, and wearing a coat is very common there. So he gave his coat a hitch. Hitch means a sudden jerk. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? So here he distinguishes, or we could say he has a prejudice for his fellow human being for on the basis of status. Okay, he was jealous. He was jealous of the rich. Okay, he was jealous of the rich. He did not wanted to warm the idle rich. Idle rich means he used to think that the rich people used to take advantage of the hard work done by the poor. Okay, so he did not wanted his log to warm, or we could say uh, give heat to the rich person who was standing around the fire. Okay, that is how he also refused to give up his ego, or we could say give up his sin or log. Now next one. Here we are going to be introduced to the fourth person of this group. The and he was a rich man. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he has earned from lazy, shiftless poor. So the rich man was thinking about the wealth he had in store. He was not thinking about the present condition. He was not thinking that the fire was in need of log, the fellow human being, as well as he himself was stuck in a situation. And if he would have not given up his log, then he would die. He was thinking about the wealth that he has. This means this also is based on status. Okay, so the earlier one was also based on status. We could say jealousy was the main reason for the previous one, and here status. He did not wanted to give heed to the poor person who was sitting in that group. Of the wealth he had, okay, and how to keep what he has earned. He did not wanted to give a single penny of what he had with him to the poor, even that log of wood. Okay, so he did not want the poor. Here lazy and shiftless terms are used for poor. Lazy means he used to think that the poor do not do hard work, and shiftless means although the meaning of shiftless is that unable to move, but here we can say that inactive. He thinks that poor people are inactive, and lazy means they do not work hard to earn money. Okay, simply he did not wanted to give up whatever he has with him just to warm the poor person in the group. Then next para. Now here we are introduced to the fifth person of the group, or the second last person of the group, the black man. The black man means the person whom the woman had already refused to warm by giving up her log of wood. Now the black man's face bespoke revenge. Bespoke means to show signs of revenge. Sign, sign, sign of revenge. So he wanted to take revenge upon that woman. Now for some points he is right in his decision, as he had already been biased, so he was apt for not giving up his log of wood. But if he was having enough heart to warm the other people in the group, then he would have given up his log. Then the black man's face showed the signs of revenge. He wanted to take revenge upon that woman as the fire passed from his side. As the fire was passing from his side means as he was seeing that woman, he wanted to take revenge upon her. For all he saw in the stick of wood was a chance to spite the wife. Because whatever he saw in that wood, he in that simple wood, in that log of wood, that he could take revenge by just not letting this log be thrown into the fire. So he also refused to just give up his ego, his log of wood, as well as the sin he had in his heart, the coldness that he had in his heart for that woman. Now, this is based on color, or we could say race. Okay. Then next one. Now the last person of this group, here we are going to talk about the sixth person, or the last person. He did not have prejudice of any kind, but he was a selfish person. So this is based on selfishness. Selfish. He was selfish. Okay. So the last man of this forlorn group, here the forlorn means alone, and group means a collection of people or something. Here these opposite terms are used. This is called oxymoron. This is a figure of speech. Oxymoron. Okay, how can a group be forlorn? How can a group be alone? Okay, so here this forlorn basically alone word is used here because the group had six people. It had a lot of people, but they all did not have warmth for each other. So they were alone. They were thinking that no one belongs to their race. No one belongs to them. Okay, that is why this group has been considered as forlorn. Did not accept for gain. Not means nothing. Not means nothing. The last man of this group, he was selfish. He was selfish. He did nothing except for gain. He wanted to do everything just for his own profit, just for his own gains. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. He only used to give things to those people who used to give him things first. And that is how he used to live in his life. And that is why, since no one agreed to put off their log into the fire, he too refused to give up his log, and hence, at last, we are going to know the result of the poem. The logs held tight in death's still hand. Means the logs were held tight in the death's still hand, means all of them were found frozen to death the next morning. Their hands were still holding that log of wood. Their hands were still holding on their sins, or we could say their egos. They were still having their egos, and they would have died. It was proof of human sin. Means that is how we could say that this is the proof that humans commit sin, and they do not get anything good out of it. They finally die. They finally have to face bad fate. Okay, they did not die from, I think this has been, they did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. Means they did not die from the cold that was outside, that was in the atmosphere. They died from the cold that was within their hearts. If they would have given up their sticks, if they would have given up their ego, if they would have given up their coldness of their heart for their fellow human beings, they would have the chances of survival. But since they failed to overcome their prejudices, their selfishness, they finally had to die. They had no other option. They had an option. They could have given their log of wood to the fire. The fire ultimately died because no one agreed to provide warmth to their fellow human beings. They finally had to face the bad fate. So the moral of this poem is love thy neighbors as thyself. Love thy. Thy means your neighbors. Love thy neighbors as thyself. Thyself means yourself. Means love your fellow human beings as you love yourself. Okay. So that was all for today's video. I will continue with another video. Please suggest me the topic that you want from me to explain. And thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you and have a nice day.